Microphone's on. Good. I'd like to call to order the Genoa Township Board of Trustees meeting. This is a regular trustee meeting. Today's date is March 2nd, 2023. The time is 6:30 p.m. At this time, can we call the roll?
Mr. Antoinette? Here. Ms. Goodman? Here. Ms. Vaughn?
Here. Also present, we have our fiscal officer, Pat Myers, our deputy police chief, Rush Chabali, director of human resources, Linda Greco, fire chief, Joe Ponzi, director of zoning and development, Joe Schaefer, township administrator, Paul Wise. I don't think I miss anybody. All right. If everybody could rise, I'd like to ask Leslie Corwin to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Leslie. Pat, I'll turn it over to you for the fiscal officer report.
Want me to go ahead and do that?
Just do your report and then we'll
Okay.
do the presentation.
No problem. Just a couple items. You would receive the meeting minutes, so I'd ask for approval of the following trustee meeting minutes: February 2nd, regular trustee; February 27th, special trustee; February 28th, special trustee.
Okay, I'll move to approve the following trustee minutes: February 2nd, 2023, regular trustee meeting; February 27th, 2023, special trustee meeting; February 28th, 2023, special trustee meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
I'll have the financials for you for your approval. This is month-end January. Total fund balance is $23,619,786.64. That is, our investments are $21,557,684.96, and the primary account of $10,062,101.68. Everything's cleared and reconciled for your review at the end of the meeting. And lastly, I would ask the trustees, we're going to do a permanent appropriation for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund, moving from the finance uses. We're going to transfer that out and put it in the fire fund overtime reimbursement as approved by resolution 220505-002 previously passed.
Okay, I'll move to amend the 2023 Genoa Township Permanent Appropriations for the American Rescue Plan Act Fund. Other financing uses transfers out in the amount of $377,000 and authorize the fiscal office to transfer $377,000 to the fire fund for overtime reimbursement as previously approved in resolution 22-0505-002. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
That's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, I'll ask Don Ranke and staff. They are going to give a brief presentation on the land bank.
Thank you. It's very nice to be here tonight.
Mr. Ranke is the Delaware County Treasurer. Tell them who you are, Don.
I want to tell you something real quick, Pat. We just kind of figuring out what our interest earnings are going to be this year. We're just right now a little bit over $8 million in interest earnings, so trying to figure out a good way to spend it, like the land bank here, though. I'm the county treasurer, and with me is Bob Lamb, who used to be the economic development director, but he's our special project coordinator in charge of the land bank program as well as the revolving loan fund. And Rick Carr is basically my chief deputy, as well as he's the chief investment officer. So we have about $320 million in excess funds. The commissioners haven't decided what they could use it for. So what I'm here tonight for, I had to just put that in there, Renee. So, but anyways, what we're here for tonight is to ask the trustees if they would consider approving a resolution to ask the land bank board of directors to expand the land bank to include Genoa Township, Liberty Township, Orange Township, and Concord Township. There are currently 5 members of the land bank board. 2 of them are county commissioners by statute. 2 of them are county commissioners, which are Commissioner Merrill and Commissioner Benton. And then the county treasurer is supposed to be the chair, and because the land bank comes out of the chair's or the treasurer's funds and so forth. And I don't sit on the land bank. I have a designee to do that. That's David Stage, because I think we're so far behind with our land bank. There's 5 members currently, and they don't operate well. They really need to have 9 members, and we really have to have the voices of the 4 biggest townships. They have one of the members is from the city of Delaware. So you have the city of Delaware, you have the 2 commissioners, myself, and then right now an Orange Township fiscal officer that makes up the 5. They've not gotten a whole lot done, and so I'd like to get it expanded because there's so much a land bank can do. They can act as a CIC, they can borrow money, they can build buildings, they can do whatever that needs to be done. We don't have the pressures of preferred wages, which all municipalities do. We can build buildings without paying those higher wages. I can never remember what they're called. But thank you, Graham. Thank you. If you need a job, I got one for you. And anyways, I'm going to turn it over to Bob, and he's going to expound on what the land banks can do. But we really like to get Genoa involved because, you know, any of your projects you want to do, if you have any property that needs to be torn down, you know, we can do that and do it through the funds. One other thing I want to tell you right now is there are 65 land banks out of the 88 counties, and Delaware County we're allowed to collect 5% of delinquent tax monies. So the monies that we collect as delinquent taxes, land bank can have up to 5% of those. I get 2.5% as the treasurer, and the prosecutor gets 2.5%. Currently, the Delaware County Land Bank ranks 65th out of 65 land banks. They only take 1/2 of 1%. 1/2 of 1%. So we took in $23 million in delinquent funds this year, collected $23 million. So you take 0.5% or you take the 5%, and it's a big difference. And we should have about $3 million in the bank now, and those monies should be going to the townships for special projects that they may have. You know, for example, like the old police station, you know, we could use funds to tear that down and, you know, pay for it 100%, relocate the utility lines under it, and go like crazy. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bob, because I'm sure I'm getting past my 5 minutes. And I do not want that young lady to be upset with me.
Well, I will keep it short. I think Don hit on most of the key points very quickly. Really, the state of Ohio allows townships and municipalities and counties to create what are called community improvement corporations. These are quasi-governmental organizations that are established by a local jurisdiction in order to carry out specific tasks that are assigned to it, whether that's development related or community related. So Liberty Township has used it to hold community events. They've used it on bond financing to be able to build facilities. And a land bank is really just another type of community improvement corporation. However, it's one that's designated to only counties that they can create. And so your county can establish a land bank, and then the land bank has various tools and abilities that are not available to most CICs. One of the key items of that is the ability to acquire property that's delinquent in its accounts. It also has an ability to apply for funding from the state for redevelopment projects or brownfield improvement projects that other CICs are not eligible for. Recently, approximately $200 million was awarded throughout the state through the brownfield redevelopment funds. Most of that's been deployed. So by leveraging those types of resources, a community can bring dollars into their community, be able to undertake projects that otherwise they may not be able to finance. So that is really the key part of why a county establishes a land bank. And then from your perspective, being able to join that and have a seat on it allows you to have a direct impact on the policies and procedures that that land bank's going to undertake. And so I think Don covered most of the key points of how you can leverage it. One of the things I would leave it on is the bond financing is probably one of the key aspects of it. It allows you to access through the DCFA or other entities of Delaware County Finance Authority, the ability to secure financing rates below market average for the most part, especially if your credit rating is solid, and then be able to deploy those dollars into your community. So not only are you leveraging dollars available in your community through taxes that many of your residents have already paid, you are then also securing a below market rate for that investment, and so returning more dollars back into the community. So a lot of different benefits.
Well, I'm going to add one more thing that's really important.
If you can come up to the microphone, because we record. Thank
I want
you.
to add one thing that's really important to that, and that is that I have about $350 million of excess monies for the county, basically rainy day funds. I'm allowed to take 20% of those funds and put it into this bond program. So, for instance, in Liberty Township, they wanted to build a brand-new administrative building, which was about $8 million. So I bought them a bond, and they're paying an interest rate of a whopping interest rate of 1.75% for the next 10 years for that. And they did the same thing, building a brand-new fire station EMS system. But it just, you can do it almost in anything you want to do. The land, so there's this 60, there's basically over 60 million of this bond money. Right now, we're looking at helping the Fair Board build all the buildings that they're doing, because they've got tax income coming in from the bed tax. And we're looking at another couple projects, but the majority of it I hold back for townships. And so in this situation, being a member of the land bank, y'all can have a much greater voice. And if you had 4 township on it out of 9, it really gives you a lot of power to move those funds to the townships for those types of things. We can lend money out. We can grant money, which is what I really like to do, because the land bank should have right now over $3 million, and it's literally got about 400,000. And so hopefully we can get y'all to agree to come on, and maybe we can change some of those things to make the community better, make Genoa Township better by using those funds. You're really no cost or little cost. And lastly, I want to tell you that, I firmly believe, as a county elected official, that we should be reaching out and doing everything we can for the townships, the villages, and the cities. I think that's our job. And so, I appreciate you letting me come here tonight, and hopefully you'll want to do that resolution, and hopefully you guys will be members of the land bank in the near future. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for presenting. All right, now I've asked Pat to put together a presentation. He's going to talk a little bit about the CIC
I
and
don't know
a
that
couple
I'd
other
call it a
things.
presentation, but I'll
Well,
give you some
okay,
information.
discussion.
I gathered. Right.
All right.
Not knowing all there is to know about CICs or community involvement corporations, if I look at the 3 to 4 things that they could do if we could develop our own, we do those things today. An agent for grants, we have someone that takes care of that for us on staff. We can purchase land, we can sell land. Those are all things we do today. Creating a CIC, from my perspective, and some folks I spoke to, is there are advantages, but the disadvantages are there's administrative, accounting, different things we would have to do and pay that we don't have the expertise to do today. So we would be looking at additional administrative costs to have our own CIC and do those things. My thought, we used to be part of the Delaware County Foundation. And one of the things that I know the trustees are interested in is being able to accept donations through a nonprofit and handling them that way. We're able to set up a fund internally, which we already had. It's gone. We could do it again. The administrative fees are minimal to the county foundation, and for the purposes for which we would use it, I see it to be much more of a simpler vehicle for us, at less cost and less administrative work internally. And we'd be able to accomplish all the things that we would do. As far as borrowing money, we're only one of 4 townships in the state of Ohio that are AAA rated, so our rate was better than what, back then, was better than what we could get from you guys. Back then. I don't know today. I'm just saying, it was pretty incredible what we were able to pull off, right? So we don't know that we need to borrow money going forward. So, you know, my thought on the CIC is, I think it is overkill for what we want to use it for. I think the foundation already exists. We have a great relationship there. And I think rejoining the Delaware County Foundation for the things that we want to accomplish would be sufficient. That's just what the information I brought forward for you.
Thank you for looking into it. Does anybody have questions? I'm not asking for a decision, you know.
We were part of the foundation
Yeah.
in the past, and there was a decision internally to not be part of that. And since then, we have had some issues with some donations and how do we count, how do we do those things, right, to make it simple. And frankly, the Delaware County Foundation was doing that for us, you know, the gardens and donations and some of the events we want to do and food truck stuff and things we want to do, we could do all that through the foundation. So that would be my suggestion, is to, if you're going to look at it deeper, I put the foundation above the CIC for this township.
And I recall the times with the foundation, and one of the concerns was that there were constraints on how we could spend that money, but those constraints really were within what we were using those monies for anyway. So it was not an issue overall.
Now, having said that, I don't think either thing I just spoke about is the same as what you were just hearing from Mr. Rankin and his staff. I think that's a separate issue.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
Just putting that out
Yep.
there, you know, I think that's the trustees making that decision on the land bank is totally separate from whether or not we have a CIC or utilize one that's already in existence at Delaware County.
Okay. My goal was just to have Pat make you two aware of opportunities. If you want to look into it, we can discuss it at a later date, but this was just kind of to get the conversation started. Okay. Anything else from you, Pat?
Not from me.
Okay.
Unless you guys have something for me.
Okay. All right, I'm going to open it up to public comment, but first, I would ask that we have a few representatives from HOAs here that were specifically asked to come and speak. So if you are one of those people, I'd invite you up to the microphone, and then after that, we'll open it up to everyone else.
Hi there, my name's Larry Harrett, and I'm on the board of,
Can
yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't, if you come up to speak, name and address, please.
Oh, my name's Larry Harrett. I live at 5645 Stillwater in Westerville. I'm on the board of the Greater Highland Lakes Homeowners Association. I wanted to just come and speak tonight. I was asked to come and obviously make comment about the situation with the stop signs. Renee and I, and I don't know, is it supposed to be trustee
No, you call me
Vaughn, or
Renee.
how do we
It's
do?
perfectly
Okay.
fine.
Madam, whatever. So, you know, we,
Madam Chair.
yeah,
It's
Madam
fine.
Chair, there
You're
you go.
fine.
We've spoken a couple of times. Of course, I've spoken to some owners. We were all, I will tell you, as a board and as an HOA management, you know, this was all a surprise to us when this all came up. And I understand it was kind of a surprise perhaps to the trustees when it was all brought up by Delaware County. I think my opinion, and I've been asked to convey, that I think a lot of people feel the same way, that regardless of the technicality of whether the stop signs are there or not there or otherwise, there's still the underlying factor that caused those 20-some years ago to be put there in the first place, in that the traffic and the speeding is out of control. It's gotten worse as we've come out of the last few years. Drivers are more aggressive, they're faster, they're cutting through. I see people passing on St. Andrews, for example, cruising through, you know, somebody will come to the stop sign and somebody else behind them will be angry and they'll just zoom around them, and you know, we still need some kind of a traffic control. I understand that there's the thoughts in some of the locations about putting the rapid flashing devices. I do, from research I've done, I do find that those do tend to cause traffic to slow down. Of course, they're distanced further apart, at least on St. Andrews or even on Somerset, where we've looked at those. And I guess we'd like to have some kind of traffic control replace these to try to slow traffic down. Whether it's creative painting on the streets, which is not expensive, but I understand in a lot of places that works very well to slow traffic, because if you can give the impression that the street is narrower than what it is, people subconsciously slow down. And perhaps that could be looked into at a lesser cost. We'd like to have something replace these, and I don't know what the next step would be for that, at least as far as Highland Lakes Homeowners Association is concerned. So I don't know if you had any, we didn't have a meeting on this as far as the HOA goes, but I don't know if you had any further input from us, or we've got other members here from the other associations as well, so. That's it.
I don't know if anybody else,
Any-
I've spoken to you, but I don't know if the other two trustees have any questions.
Not at this time. I'd like to get through
Yep.
whatever comments.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for
Good, thank
coming.
you.
Thank you for speaking. All right, now we'll just open it up to any public comment. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Nancy Smith. I live at 5679 Cypress Court. And I also want to talk about the stop signs in Highland Lakes. So I've been there for more than 20 years, and I've been aware of the issue. And the real issue on St. Andrews Drive, and I'm not familiar with the other places, is that it's dangerous, but it's not just dangerous. It was dangerous before when there was a stop sign. My kids had to walk down St. Andrews Drive to get to the bus stop. And now that the signs are being removed, it's the perfect time to bring up what the real problem is, which is that it's dangerous. There are many factors. This is a through street. It connects Highland Lakes Avenue to Africa, and it's one of the main entrances and exits from Highland Lakes, at least from the eastern side of it. And it has a true rush hour in the morning and in the afternoon. And the morning rush hour corresponds with kids going to bus stops. And Fraser is a major bus stop. And not all the kids are coming from Fraser. Kids are coming up and down St. Andrews to get to Fraser. And St. Andrews has no sidewalks, so those kids are walking in the street. And St. Andrews has on-street parking, so those kids aren't just walking in the street on the side of it, they're walking in the driving lane. And at least between Cypress Court and Fraser, there is a curve and a hill with the on-street parking. And it's completely blind. If you're going west down there, you have to be out or in the middle around the cars that are parked on the side. And it curves down this way. You cannot see what's coming. So yes, there's enough room for 2 cars to pass, but not 2 cars and some kid running to the bus stop. And could they run through people's yards? Yeah, maybe, but they don't, and especially in the winter, they wouldn't. They walk in the plowed street. So that's like 5 reasons why it's dangerous, and that doesn't even count the stop sign and the speed. And yes, people will speed up, and yes, there has to be something that you do to slow the traffic down, and that's great. But what we really, really need to do is get the kids out of the street, and the adults too. But adults usually know when to look for cars because they've been around a while. But I've seen accidents there during the morning rush hour when kids are going down, during the time when my kids had to walk to the bus stop there. And fortunately, they have wrecked yards and parked cars, and they haven't run over anybody's kid yet. But as soon as they find out that they can zip on through and they don't have to stop in the middle, they're just going to speed up, and it's going to increase the likelihood that somebody's kid's going to get hit. So we need a sidewalk or a path And we need it on both sides, and at the very minimum, it's got to go from Cypress Court, where the sidewalk ends, to Fraser, because that's the blindest curve. There are more curves going down towards Africa, so preferably sidewalks on both sides, just for safety.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kevin Stoffer. I live at 5195 St. Andrews Drive, right exactly where the stop sign is. So I appreciate everybody else's comments, obviously here to talk about the same thing. The only thing I would ask, and obviously you haven't had time to prepare for my question, so to take it away, is what is the plan to monitor the effectiveness of the signs that are being instilled? Like, are they effective? Are drivers slowing down? Is there more accidents? Are there more tickets being, given out? And if there is, I'd like to understand what those steps are. And if there's not, what is the process for us as a community to, get that initiated? Do we need to sit outside with our own radar gun and tag cars as they come through there? Or, whatever those steps are, I would love to understand, because as others have, already said, I think there will be a problem as this continues to go forward. So that's all I had to say.
Thank you.
Appreciate your consideration.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to address a couple of your questions there if you like. We have been collecting data for some time on speeds on St. Andrews. We have all that data available. If you would like to look at it, you're welcome to contact us through whatever means, by our website or contact our office, and we'll get you those data sheets. We will continue to monitor speed on St. Andrews, and if that data changes, you will be able to see if it changes. We also track citations. We track how many warnings. We track the time that the officers spend there, because we do spend a lot of time on St. Andrews working traffic. And as it goes by here, we can certainly show you what the pattern looks like prior and what the pattern looks like after, and I think that's your question.
Exactly.
So please feel free to contact us, and we'll get you the information as of now. And then as we move down the road, we can get it to you monthly, we can get it to you bi-monthly, however you'd like that. But that'll help you understand what we're seeing and how we're handling it.
Very much so. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Please come up to the microphone. Name and address. Oh, sorry.
Leslie Corwin, 5468 St. Andrews Drive. If I may address what you were saying, is there a potential that you could put that published somewhere for us, the Highland Lakes newsletter? Because there's at least 3 of us here that would like to see that information rather than have to research it, or have you send it individually to us? With the, like, a
Sorry, apparently I'm having mic issues. Yeah, that's not a problem. So what will, again, if you'll just contact us, and I can give you our information before you leave, but all you would have to do is contact us and let us know where you want the data sent, and we'd be happy to do that on whatever basis we collect it. So in other words, we would suggest probably at least monthly, because that's the easiest way we track the data. What that includes is sometimes it will include speed sign data, but we have 3 speed signs. We have 21.5 square miles, as well as many, many more neighborhoods that request those. So the speed sign may not always be there, but as far as our data goes with us working those areas, the hours worked, the stops made, the citations issued, all that information is available. We keep a data sheet for that, and we can send it monthly to you if that's what you like. Just reach out to us, and we'll take care of that.
Well, I was just thinking in terms of, making it easier for everybody to have access to it, like the Highland Lakes newsletter, or
Which neighborhood are you part of?
Greater
Is Larry
Highland.
your,
Larry's
okay,
our-
so I have Larry's email.
Yeah.
So I can just send it to Larry, and I can get you Larry's contact info.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
we'll just do it that way. It's
And
fine.
we just recently had one of the, you are going 30 and a 25 sign put up. Small problem with it, the gentleman parks a car in front of it. Overnight, he works, so in the morning he comes in, so every morning that sign's blocked, and it'll get the car to a certain point. So do we contact you if we think it maybe needs to be moved to a different location? Because it's losing the data because the cars are not being.
So two answers to that. yes, please do if you notice that it's showing a speed partially. If you see it blanked out completely, we may be running in what's called our ghost mode, which means we're still collecting data, but it's not showing anyone their speeds. So we do that from time to try to judge if, there's certain people that may see it and say, oh, let me see what I can get up to for this sign. And we don't, so we want to see how that data compares. Interestingly enough, they're almost exactly the same, whether the sign is on or off. So it still collects it. But yeah, if you do see that it's just catching a piece of something and then shutting down because it's being blocked, let us know
I
and
think
we'll,
it's just by virtue where he parks his car, they get, and then
sure.
it loses part of it.
And it depends where the radar is mounted on the sign and how high it's projecting that beam. So yeah, please contact us, let us know, and we can certainly move it or find a way to make it work at that location.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Connie Blair, 5622 St. Andrews, and the sign is right in front of my house. And I will confirm that I stood out there today and I watched, only for about 3 minutes. The highest speed I saw was 45. The lowest I saw was 29. So I think it does slow down some people, and I'm glad for that. But I was going to say the same thing with that. She just said that this young man, he's a wonderful guy, and he's working. He's a kid in his 20s, and he does park right in front of it. And I know it blocks because, as you say, it may still be going into your system, but it is blocking. I stood there and watched for a while, and it just goes black. So,
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name's Brad, and I'm at 5170 St. Andrews Drive.
What's your last name?
Oh, Birmingham, I'm
Thank you.
sorry. Yeah, and so I just wanted to echo a lot of what's already been said now, but because it's a cut-through, it is, there's a lot of traffic that isn't even people that live on our street or even the street over. The crosswalk that's going in and the flashing signs aren't gonna do anything because no one's gonna hit the button. They're never gonna flash because it's a crosswalk to nowhere. It just goes into grass. So it's really silly. And I think the answer is speed humps. We really, really need those. We don't need 1 billion of them. We need, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 on each side of going up St. Andrews, on each side of the stop sign. Something that will, just make people stop, just shoving the gas pedal down until they get to the stop sign, even the ones that remotely pretend to stop. It'll slow them down way, way, way sooner. I'd like 2 or 3 stop signs on St. Andrews ideally, but if not, I do think speed humps are the only real way we're going to slow people down. We all have kids, well, not all of us, but a lot of us have spoken, have kids and living right on the intersection. It's sad because, when we all bought the house, like, oh, this is a nice neighborhood and, great place to raise our kids, and none of us feel comfortable with our kids on the street, which is just a huge, just disappointment, that we say you can go down Fraser, but you're not allowed on St. Andrews. And that wasn't anything that we all had in mind when we bought our houses. So I just wanted to mention that. And then keep monitoring to those speeds, all throughout the year, because I do know in the summer it's way, way, way worse because people aren't afraid of sliding. And also we have a lot of landscaping companies for all of Highland Lakes, and they all use St. Andrews as a cut through. And they are very unaware of the stop sign because they don't live around there at all, right? And they don't even, just completely go through it going 40 miles an hour. And I can, wave my hands at them and scream, but they look at me like I'm crazy because they don't even know there was a stop sign there, especially when the trees, right now the stop signs are a little bit more visible, but in the summer they're not. There's leaves on all the trees. The one, if you're heading south, you can't see it half the time until you're maybe 25 feet from it. And by then, sometimes people then see it, then they slam on the brakes, and then that's even more dangerous because now they're skidding through it because they don't know it's there. So that's it. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, my name's Rick Wieland. I'm at 9500 Britton Woods Drive. And I need to change the topic from the homeowners association stuff to back to some road issues we have up there on Britton Woods Drive. And I've been here before, and it's going to be a long story for me and stuff.
I did mention that to Mark to try to meet me up there and stuff, and we still haven't got together on it. So if you're gonna wanna do it, we need to get it done and get something moving on it, as far as what can be done up in there. And I'd like to either come in and sit with you guys at some other time if I have to or whatever, and talk about what we need to do. If we need to get the county people involved or what we need to do, so give me some guidance on what needs to be done. Also, we have a road that's up on Red Bank Road that goes from Gorsuch Road to Shot Road, which has been, I don't know if there's a polite way to say it, but it just sucks as far as the road conditions and stuff on it. I'm embarrassed to see it's been going on this long. The county came out and patched some stuff haphazardly last year after I've called the county for 2 years on the project and stuff. I don't know who we have in our township that's in charge of roads or whatever, but I suggest we get a road czar, somebody in charge of this stuff that takes over some of this stuff. We shouldn't be having roads go to this condition. If we are, maybe we have to get a hold of the land bank and see if we can get some money from these guys as grants to fix some of this stuff. Or to buy some more police signs or whatever, if we need some more signs, if we only have 3 in the township. So those are the issues I'd want to bring up or whatever, but I really consider this stuff with the road stuff is getting beyond stuff or whatever. And if it's in our township, I think we need somebody from our township speaking for us at the county level and getting some of this stuff done for us.
You said Red Bank Road, and what was the other one? What was- you
Well,
mentioned-
Britton Woods Drive is our road or whatever
Right,
that we talked
Britton.
about, but Red Bank Road, it goes from Gorsuch Road up
Okay,
to
Gorsuch.
Shot
Okay.
Road, up to the roundabout. And it's supposed to be I talked to Lee Bodenauer over there, engineering or whatever, and he had told me that that was supposed to be on the schedule for this year to be completed or some work done on it. The county issues their little building outlook for all our projects for the years on a little pamphlet, as far as the only information I could get. And they don't go into smaller projects and stuff. They list all the bigger stuff. And they have one paragraph that says, other roads, pavement will be done here, spot paving, miscellaneous stuff. But they don't suggest where it is or what road it is. I contacted him today to see if he had he has no information on it. Like it's not even on their radar again or whatever. I've talked to Barb Lewis, our commissioner or whatever, she lives in that area, about the road over the last 2 years. She can attest to it too.
Okay,
All righty,
thank you.
thanks.
Anyone else? All right, I'll close public comment and we'll move on to trustee comments. Anybody have any comments?
If this is the proper format, I think it might behoove all of us to consult a professional about these intersections. And we can solicit proposals from traffic engineers that can provide options for reducing speed. I'm a civil engineer and I'm not comfortable that I know the most efficient method to traffic calming in these areas. I don't think any of us are. And I think for a minimal investment, we can get a proposal from a traffic engineer that can look at these and provide us recommendations from professionals that we can show to the residents that these are effective ways to reduce speed, which is what we're talking about. Just a thought.
Any other comments?
While we're on that
Yeah.
topic, the lady on Cypress Court mentioned about there is parking on both sides of St. Andrews. And I guess my question, and I don't know the answer, but what can we legally do to limit? Could we put one side parking there? That would give one side that would be clearer for anyone walking. The second part of that is there are no sidewalks. We've had other areas in the township where there have not been sidewalks. Residents have gotten together, and if the entire group of residents want to have sidewalks and they are willing to pay for the sidewalk, and if there's any infrastructure, sewer, electric, whatever, underneath, they've got to deal with that. But we've had situations where we've approved putting sidewalks in after a subdivision has been built. It didn't used to be the standard, it is now. So that would be my thought. What can we do in those two areas? Can we either limit parking to one side, or are the residents interested in talking to each other to see if they want to invest in sidewalks?
I invited the HOA for the southern portion of St. Andrews Drive to attend this evening. I'm surprised none of them showed up because I've been in constant communication with them. They are looking into putting in sidewalks. I don't know where, but I know that it's in discussions, that their HOA is working on it. I don't know about any of the other subdivisions.
Can I comment about
Yes.
parking? Obviously, you'll want to be careful proclaiming an area no parking, because then signs have to go up and stating there's no parking. You'll probably want to get input from the residents before you limit because they are the ones that are parking in front of their houses, whether they have more kids than parking spots in their driveway. So you may be creating one problem with, another whole other problem for somebody that may not like that.
It's a thought. It may not have been a good one. Okay. Trustee Vaughn, you mentioned that you've been meeting with the HOAs. Do you have an update for us on what you've learned from them in your meeting?
Paul and I, and Bob was on the phone, met with the HOA at the southern portion where St. Andrews and Fraser is. They came with their requests. We had decided that we would install the, what is it called, digital speed sign. And Bob was going to look at the number of speed limits or speed limit signs on St. Andrews Drive, because he did the same thing with Hillmar, and he ended up having to install a few more speed limit signs on Hillmar because there weren't enough. There were enough on St. Andrews, so he didn't have to. He, I think, is going to buy 2 signs that say park or slow children at play, because there is a park just south of the stop sign, or west, thank you, west of the stop sign. So he is going to post 2 of those. It wasn't until the end of last week or the week before that someone at the Somerset intersection called the engineer's office and notified them that Somerset and Gainey and Annandale was a bus stop for Olentangy schools. I did confirm with Olentangy Bus Garage that yes, it is a bus stop. Because it's a bus stop, the engineer's office has requested that we put in a rapid flashing beacon at that intersection, even though there aren't sidewalks, just for safety reasons. There's a minimum of 6 bus stops there a day, 3 in the morning and 3 at night. And then Bob called Westerville City Schools to see if St. Andrews and Fraser was a bus stop. It is. So the engineer's office is requesting that we put in a rapid flashing beacon at that intersection as well, even though there aren't sidewalks. So that's where we are. It was a plan that evolved as new information was learned. I have contacted, or I've been in constant communication with the HOA at the Fraser St. Andrews Drive intersection. They have updated their people. I have been informed that the majority of the residents are in favor of what we're doing. There are a few people who are still not happy. I think some of those people are here this evening. But I have been told that 90% of the feedback that they are getting is positive. And I hear some whispers that maybe that isn't true, but that's what I've been told. As far as Larry's HOA, their committee hasn't been in town to meet with us, and so I've just been communicating with Larry, and Larry was gracious enough to come this evening. But they haven't met as a board, so that's all I know.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anything else on that topic? Or any other trustee comments?
I have none, thank you.
Okay, I have one. The Highland Lakes St. Andrews intersection, they have an HOA meeting on thank you. The 27th, I was told, I thought the 24th? The St. Andrews Drive. Oh, and Fraser. They have an HOA meeting here on the 23rd of March. That is the same night as the Delaware Health District's meeting, and I'm supposed to attend that. They have requested that a trustee be there.
I can go.
Okay. Are you okay with that?
What time's the meeting?
I don't know. I will ask, and then somebody can get you the message. All I was told was it's that night. I know that I have the Delaware. 7, okay, yeah.
It's here?
It's in this room, yeah. 23rd.
Of March.
Yes. Yes, of this month. Thank you, because I have to attend the health district meeting at 6. All right, very good. Glad we got that taken care of. All right, I think if nobody else has any other comments, I'll move on to Paul with the administration.
Thank you, Board. This past week, the Board held 2 special meetings to discuss, interview applicants for BZA and Zoning Commission and deliberate about committee appointments. From that meeting, we learned that there needs to be an adjustment to the committee handbook on the Fire Rescue EMS Advisory Committee. So I request the Board make an update to that committee as presented.
Okay, I'll move to update the appointment book, the Fire Rescue EMS Advisory Committee, from no more than 15 members to 13 members. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
And if the Board wants to go ahead and move on with the other appointments at this time, I'll just keep quiet for a little while.
Very good. I'll move to appoint Bob DeRose to the Board of Zoning Appeals as an alternate member, term ending March 31st, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
For Bose, right?
DeRose.
Okay.
DeRose. Next, I'll move to appoint Jared Christian to the Board of Zoning Appeals as an alternate member, term ending March 31st, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. I'll move to appoint Paul Hansen to the Board of Zoning Appeals as a regular member, term ending March 31st, 2028. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. Next, I'll move to approve Ryan Wester to the Zoning Commission as an alternate member, term ending March 31st, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. I'll move to approve that Darlene Dalton to the Communications Advisory Committee with the term ending March 31st, 2026. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. I'll move to appoint the following to the Fire EMS Advisory Committee with the term ending March 31st, 2026. Tom Munley, Reed Carrier, Chelsea Follier, and Jeff Gale. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. Next, I'll move to appoint the following to the Parks Advisory Committee, terms ending March 31st, 2026. Tyson Klein, Brian Wellman, Mark Wigginton, Phil Johnson, and Aaron Francure. Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. I'll move to appoint the following individuals to the Police Advisory Committee with terms ending March 31st, 2026. James Randis and Brad Houston. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. All right, Paul, I'll move to you.
Moving on, we have been contacted about another lawsuit that involves political subdevelopments and the opioid settlements. And so there's now a opioid settlement agreement lawsuit against the firms of Teva, Allergan, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart. They've provided all the paperwork for us. If we do want to participate in the lawsuit, We're already in lawsuit and have received funds from the first part of the opioid settlement with other corporations. I think we've received, a little under $5,000 settlement for that one. So the question is, does the board want, as a consensus vote, do you want to participate in this new opioid national settlement or not? And if you do, if you could read that either way.
Just to confirm, this is similar to the previous lawsuit.
It is. And because it's a class action and all these public entities are diving on, they'll take the total settlement and divide it by the entities that are participating. So, like I said, we received, I think, under $5,000 from the last settlement. So if the board wants to participate, go ahead and read that.
What's the consensus?
I say go for it.
I mean, is that all we have to do?
Yeah,
I'll file the paperwork according to what was written there. I'll act on your behalf to
Yeah.
sign.
we have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I'm
and
in favor.
everything to gain.
Why don't you go on record then to say that there's a consensus?
Okay. There was a consensus of the board to participate in the new national opioid settlement and authorize Township Administrator Paul Wise to sign the participation form on behalf of the Board of Trustees. That's all we need? No vote? Nothing?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank
right.
you.
All right.
I'll get the paperwork filled out. I think it's an April deadline or something on that. Next up, I just want to let you know the ball is rolling now on the demo of the old police station. We received the plan. The plan's gone from our architect's office to the county building code compliance. The plans were approved yesterday and paid for and picked up today. So we are out. We're officially out to bid now. A pre-bid meeting was held on the 27th. There was one bidder that showed up and asked questions and was given a tour. The bids will take place. They could be entered anytime until February 3rd. We are having a bid opening on February 3rd at 2 p.m. at the fire station training room.
Not-
Hopefully,
Not April 3rd?
I'm sorry, April 3rd, 2 p.m. at the fire station. We know of a few bids that have been gone out or been requested so far, so we're hoping we get a lot of participation. This is going to be a quick turnaround time for the Board of Trustees. Just a heads up, the next board meeting after that is 4/6, so the bids will be opened. They could be reviewed by all the applicants on April 3rd, and then they will be rated by our architect and the mechanical engineer to make sure they're responsive in their filings, and they'll come up with a recommendation to be made by the April 6th. And so that will start the process of the building being torn down.
And the architect is okay with that quick turnaround? He'll have information?
He's the one pushing me to have the board act.
Okay.
So
All right.
we want to try to have the completion date by July 31st.
I saw that. It's ambitious. I like it.
So, and apparently Delaware County has a lot of money to give out.
I heard that. I heard that.
So can someone contact Mr. Ranky
Yeah,
and
don't worry.
whatever the bids come in?
I'll
we would
send a
like-
thank you tomorrow.
We would like this huge thank you to townships as he was willing to give us money on public record, so. Save our taxpayers some money. Thank you for that. Anyway, going on. There's a purchase order we need to approve. When we talked about our budget time for capital expenditures, all departments, police, fire, maintenance, roads, parks, and administration zoning, we're pitching in and buying a smart system for monitoring and recording our gas usage at the maintenance garage. We have two 1,000-gallon convaults on site. The old pump system is antiquated. We have to have a clipboard, and everyone writes in with their horrible writing on how many gallons they use. This would be more of an automated system where there would be a system set up that'll scan the vehicle and know who's driving it, and it'll register the amount of gallons used. So we're very excited about it. We just want the board to move ahead with the purchase order this evening. It's divvied up by department, and the total request for the project is $18,000.
Okay. I'll move to approve a purchase order to Bright Star Propane in the amount of $18,000 for a fuel management system. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. I'm going to skip to maintenance, but that's also Paul.
I will go on to maintenance on behalf of Bob. He's not able to attend this evening. So first off, Bob's requesting some purchases of rapid flashing beacons and speed rate radar signs. But before we do that, we would like the board to approve the ones that come out of the Road and Bridge Fund. We would like to utilize the contingency fund we just started to pay for those $31,000 in those units.
Okay,
So-
I'll move to approve the following supplemental appropriations. Road and Bridge Fund, account 2031-930-930-0000, contingencies in the amount of $31,685 to account 2031-330-420-0000 in the amount of $31,685. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call?
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Motion carries.
Now I ask the board approve the purchase order for the purchases of those units.
Okay, I'll move to approve the following purchase orders. Peterson Highway Safety Incorporated for $51,085, rapid flashing beacons and radar signs. And Game Time, $108,595, artificial turf for Ninja Course. Do I have a second?
Second?
Just so everyone knows, Bob informed me last week that the turf for the Ninja Course was installed last year. They never got a bill. He was wondering how he had so much carryover, and here it is. They just got a bill, so.
Fortunately, they found it, right?
Right, yes. So that's why you have the $108,595 to Game Time. All right.
The rapid flashing beacons and radar signs, where are those going?
Those are going at all 5 intersections. Now that we found out that the 2 that were not dedicated to have the rapid flashing beacons are bus stops, per the request of the engineer's office, we're putting them at all 5. Anything else? Okay, roll call?
Mr. Antoinette? Yes. Ms. Goodman? Yes. Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
I believe that's all I have this evening.
All right, I'll turn it over to Fire and Chief Ponzi.
Good evening, Board. Pardon me, it seems to be allergy season early this year. In your packet, you should have a document that is a updated agreement with our medical director, emergency medical services director agreement, which is Dr. Tom Gavin. Dr. Gavin has been our medical director for about 17 or 18 years. And we have been a little bit behind in updating what we compensate Dr. Gavin for his services, and thought it was time to update his pay for his services. Just to provide you a little bit of background, Dr. Gavin, as I said, serves as our medical director. Without a medical director, we cannot practice EMS services within the fire department. We have to have a physician that signs off on basically our drug license, our medical protocol, and everything we do. And basically, also part of that is a part of a liability insurance that he carries as our medical director that he has to carry, being our medical director. As you all are aware, probably going back as far as 2 years ago, we started working on a county-wide EMS protocol. Dr. Gavin has been very heavily involved in that process, which required a lot of meetings with the various medical directors and EMS coordinators. And with that involvement and what we anticipate will be the continued involvement, and then also some recent discussion with Dr. Gavin. We have asked Dr. Gavin to begin this year to provide a quarterly meeting with the 3 shifts of the crews once a quarter. Basically, a quality assurance, quality inspection on how the paramedics are doing on the EMS vehicles. Also to discuss unique runs, et cetera, et cetera. And it's also an opportunity for the firefighters, paramedics to discuss new and upcoming treatments that we hear about, new drugs, et cetera. And then also for a chance for Dr. Gavin to relate to our personnel of things that they're seeing in the emergency departments, et cetera, and new trends that are coming down the pipeline. So with that, if you had a chance to look at the old medical director's agreement, you'll see that it was pretty low. And we have brought him up to, at least this year, what we believe to be a fair fee for his services. What we did was we found out basically what a ER physician, what that person's cost is. And then in that quarterly agreement, we've asked Dr. Gavin to provide to us 2 hours per crew, so 6 hours per quarter, and then develop that rate, and also anticipated meetings that he would have to attend on the protocol meetings. And we came up with the $12,000 in the medical director's agreement. I have some other figures if you are interested of neighboring departments of what they're paying, but even bringing Dr. Gavin up to $12,000, we're still on the low side. We have discussed this with Dr. Gavin. He is in agreement with the fee structure and the new requests that we have made that he help us. And so I would ask for your approval or answer any questions you may have.
I'll read the motion, then we can have a discussion.
Okay.
I'll move to engage the services of Thomas Gavin, MD, to be the Genoa Township Fire Department's medical director as an independent contractor at a rate of $1,000 per month, retroactive to January 1st, 2023. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a question. Is this an ongoing, we approve it now and we have this contract until, or is it a yearly reagreement?
I believe the language says it is a continual and can be updated on a yearly basis if so requested by either party.
Okay,
But
I
it is
did
a
see that you can, each party could terminate it at any time.
That's
given
correct.
notice, yes, okay.
Yes.
And if I recall, isn't this one of the things that in our reorg meeting, we
I can't remember.
addressed during the motions? I
That-
recall this every year.
That and the medical protocols
Yes,
specifically.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
any other questions?
I did. So previously it was 300. That was it, started in 2018.
And had been lower than that prior to that.
So the description of services is pretty extensive, and there is no opportunity for him to request additional compensation.
I would, as we did this time, that was a conversation that I initiated with Dr. Gavin, as we said, hey, these are some things we'd like to see out of you. And we came up with what those would look like, the QI sessions for the 3 hours or 3 crews per quarter. And then he was a little hesitant to try to throw a number, and I said, well, I'll come up with a fee and I'll pitch that to you, and then you let me know if that's agreeable. And this was the first offer, and he said he was agreeable to it.
Okay.
The agreement does say, unless otherwise in writing.
Right.
It should not exceed $12,000.
Yeah.
So it would have to be requested. You would have to resolve again to pay it.
And I'm sorry if I misunderstood. If there's a request, we'd have to come back and discuss this for an increase.
Or if
And
you
there's no,
requested something outside of this description of services.
I wouldn't, as you said, it's pretty
Pretty
lengthy.
extensive.
I'm not sure that he's been doing a lot of work for us under the previous agreement, a lot of meetings, and he didn't complain too much. I'm just trying to be fair to him as our medical director, and to make sure we retain him. Like I said, we've had him for about 17, 18 years now. So,
Okay, anything else? No? Okay, roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
yes,
Ms. Goodman? Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Board. I have just a couple of items. I'll keep them quick. If you could put that picture up, Joe, please. So the first item I want to discuss is a possible storage facility for the police department. The one mistake we made in building the building we did is not creating an area for enough storage. It just, we thought we had enough, and we've quickly found that we've sort of overwhelmed that storage area. So the picture you see there is, yeah, correct. We have some storage in that little trailer there because we're running out inside. But our plan would be to build a facility in that exact location you see there. We do have enough space to build a 30 by 20 building with 10-foot walls, an overhead door, a man door, and some windows, as well as doing some shelving to store some of our cold, what we'll call cold storage items that don't require heater, or heater cold doesn't damage them in any way. So our thought is to put the building in that location, just because that asphalt you see there is a no parking area. It's just an extension from one parking area to another area. So we would start the building at that location and go back towards State Route 3, as you can see there. So with that, we have not gotten anywhere near where those wetlands would be, so we'd be perfectly fine to build there. And there are no other requirements that we have to meet to allow us to do so. I don't come to you this evening with a request to purchase this at this point. I do want to get another quote. I do have 3, but I would like to look at another one because I'm trying to get the pricing down. But that would be the location of that facility. The other item I want to talk about, and another reason we didn't look at the purchase for this evening, was we currently have approximately $147,000 in our bond levy funds that are still available to make improvements to and around the building. We would like, in my discussion with Donna Batten, we talked about not piecemealing this money over, little by little, just moving, if in fact we're going to spend the entire amount, moving that entire amount over at one time, coming to you and telling you the items specifically that we're looking at purchasing, and then move forward with movement if we thought it was a good idea. Some of those ideas are some fencing. We currently have no fencing around the building whatsoever. We know that's going to be fairly costly, but there is nothing that is actually around the building that stops anybody from sort of roaming, which we've had before, roaming into our area. We also have some, what I think are really good and important upgrades to our training room. We have some AV upgrades that we think would be very helpful, not only internally to be able to alternate trustee meetings to that location if necessary, but also for our public committees that meet there, for them to more easily do their Zoom conferencing. Instructors, as people are finding that we have this training room, we're getting booked more and more by a lot of different instructors that have said, hey, be great if we had this or great if we had that. And we agree completely. We think they're very good ideas, just something that didn't come to mind when we did the initial portion of the building. And with those funds, that would help us support those types of projects. So with that, I want to get more of that information sort of locked down. I don't have a quote for the AV equipment. I don't even have a price range at this point. I'm waiting for the company to get back to me. So I'd like to get more of those numbers in place before we ask for this. But hopefully next month we'll come to you with a lot of those items and perhaps request appropriating that $147,000 that we have left for the building for the purpose of improving and making it more efficient. So those are the 2 items I wanted to discuss, and and be happy to answer any questions or thoughts you might have in regards to it.
The storage facility that you're talking about, I see how it's marked off with the white tape. You said that's a no parking area. I know initially there were some concerns about getting cars on the, like the Shamrock tow trucks back there. Will this impede that at all?
It will not. So if you look at what you see back there, that white line that is closest to the front of the screen is the beginning of the new parking area that goes back to your right as you look at the screen to the Sallyport area. So what the tow truck would do, and keep in mind, we're not using all that. The actual building would be somewhat, a little bit behind that line, that front line that you're looking at. So the tow truck, when it comes in, can pass that line entirely, move to its left into those what are currently empty parking spaces, and able to make that large U-turn. I can't recall exactly how many, but I think there's about 20 spaces back there. So he can go around that, come back around and make that U-turn, he or she, without any issue. So no, it would not affect the towing or recovered vehicle, recovered stolens, or anything of that nature.
So that's just pavement markings, that's not the intended storage building?
That's just pavement markings as of right now, but I wanted to show the pictures. You have a reference point of where it would actually go. It would be further back into the blacktop area there.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Joe Schaefer with zoning.
Good evening, Board. I have a few items, or a couple items for you this evening. The first, and they're all primarily related to acknowledging and scheduling zoning cases. The first is acknowledgement and scheduling public hearings for zoning case number 2023-02, which is a comprehensive plan amendment, and zoning case 2023-03, which is zoning resolution amendment. On Monday, February 27th, 2023, the Zoning Commission heard testimony on the subject amendments over two separate hearings. Said meeting was a continuation of hearings that had previously been conducted on February 15th of this year, and took into consideration the recommendations and approval for both amendments, which did not include any conditions or revisions by the Delaware County Regional Planning Commission on February 23rd. Following the close of testimony in each of these respective hearings, the Zoning Commission deliberated and passed the following. 1, a motion to recommend approval of zoning case number 2023-02, comprehensive plan amendment by a 5-0 vote. 2, a motion to recommend approval of zoning case number 2023-03, zoning resolution amendment, noting one modification to the initiated draft, that being the deletion of all text after the word dwellings in section 80201, and that passed by a 5-0 vote. As such, the Development and Zoning Department requests the trustees pass a motion that formally acknowledges receipt of the Zoning Commission's recommendations of approval. That would be one motion for each respective amendment, and the setting of public hearing dates, including time and place certain for said amendments. I do have a note here. So there is no statutory requirement for the comprehensive plan hearing to be held within the next 30 days, which would be April 2nd of tonight's acknowledgement, but there is such a requirement for the zoning resolution amendment in statute. Staff recommends that both hearings be scheduled for Tuesday, March 21st, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. in the Genoa Township Hall, with the intention to open and then immediately continue the hearings without any presentations, public comment period, or discussion. This is because March 21st is looking to be a date on which the board has other business needs that may need to be handled, so this tactic will allow the board to find a later date, time, and place certain to actually hold the full hearing while still complying with the requirements of the revised code. Should the board proceed in this manner, the intention is to immediately continue, the intention to immediately continue those hearings would be included in the advertisement, so people didn't feel like we were misleading them regarding a meeting. They show up and nothing actually really substantive happens. And then I have reference dates there below for dates that you may want to continue the hearing till. We don't necessarily need to do that action this evening, but if there are any dates that you think you want me to hold in the hall, I would like to know those right now, because March is pretty filled up and those dates tend to go pretty quickly, especially this time of year, because a lot of HOAs, the first quarter, try to get their annual meeting in for the year. So that's the first order of business I have for you this evening.
So you're saying March 21st, did you say 6 or 6:30 p.m.?
6:30.
6:30.
If I said 6, that was a mistake. I meant 6:30.
I just didn't know if I heard you correctly, so I don't know.
Your usual time.
Yeah, okay. Does that work for everyone else? We're meeting at 5 anyway.
As long as we're done, yes. It
Yeah,
depends.
I know.
Yeah.
I think even if we're not, we open that up and then close it and continue on with whatever.
Well, we'll have another business item pertaining to that
Yeah, I
date as
know.
well.
Yes. Okay. So do you want me to go ahead and do these two motions and then we'll go to the next one?
Yeah, I think that makes the most sense.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
I'll move that the Board of Trustees acknowledge the recommendation of the Zoning Commission's approval of ZC 2023-2, I'm sorry, I'll start over, 2023-02 Comprehensive Plan Amendments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Do I have to read the hearing with the motion?
Oh, in terms of the date?
The date, yeah. Do you want me to read the rest of
You
that?
can, I'm not sure it's 100% necessary, though.
Okay. All right, I'll just do roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes.
And I'll
Motion
note there's a
carries.
consensus for the March 21st date.
Yeah, yes, so March 21st, 2023 at 6:30 PM. Next, I'll move that the Board of Trustees acknowledge the recommendation of the Zoning Commission's approval for ZC 2023-03 zoning resolution amendment. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette? Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
This motion carries. And again, that's March 21st, 2023 at 6:30 PM.
Thank you. Are there any of those dates there at the bottom that you wish for me to, and again, we don't have to pick one, but maybe 2
I
or
don't
3? You
have
want me to just-
dates on mine.
Oh, I'm sorry, I gave you a secondary, a supplemental
Oh,
handout
here.
there in front of you. I should have mentioned that at the beginning.
Got it.
So I listed all the potential dates, and again, as you can see, between vacations and hall availability and weekends, we're well into April.
I would not be available May 15th. I have a conflict.
I guess that's the most important thing right now. Just tell me which ones you have conflicts with, and I'll just hold the rest of them, and then we can, on the 21st, solidify the continuation date.
Or if we could pick a date, then we would have it on our calendars.
Yeah.
Correct, if you're comfortable doing that
These
this
fill
evening,
up
we can
too.
do
Yeah,
that.
I'm available any of those days.
The bolded dates are just, I guess, the dates of the nights that you already have reserved on your calendars, the third Thursdays of each of those months.
Yeah, I guess I'm in favor of April 20th.
I'm fine with that.
Yep, works for me.
Sounds good. Procedurally speaking, we'll still do the continuation to that date on the record, but
That's
it's good to
fine.
know that we can get that all on our calendars now.
And that would be at 6:30 PM, the normal time.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Excellent. Ready to move on to the next item if the board is?
Yeah.
All right, the second item is another acknowledgement and scheduling of a public hearing. This pertains to zoning case number 2022-07, Multi-Sound Studios at 6463 Maxtown Road. On Wednesday, February 15th of this year, the Zoning Commission heard testimony on the subject zoning map and preliminary development plan application, which proposes to rezone approximately 1.206 acres of property located at the subject address to planned commercial district in order to convert the existing residence into a commercial use. Said meeting was a continuation of hearings that previously had been conducted on December 12th, 2022. Following the close of testimony, the commission deliberated and passed the following. 1, a motion to recommend approval of the requested rezoning to PCD unanimously. And 2, a motion to recommend approval of the preliminary development plan associated with the rezoning. And that was also done unanimously and included all divergences. Again, as such, I'm requesting acknowledgement and scheduling of the public hearing be done this evening. Pursuant to what I just read in the other memorandum, I'm recommending March 21st, 2023. We would essentially do this hearing. It would be the third hearing, so it would happen right after those first two we just scheduled. But this one would actually be a substantive hearing where the goal would be to do presentations, public comment, discussion, and potentially decision if the board would be ready to do that evening. One of the other conflicts I forgot to mention in all of this is we recently learned the Delaware Gazette is now only putting out hard copies Wednesdays and Saturdays. So it makes it very difficult because we're required by statute to run advertisements in the paper. So obviously that really cuts down on the dates and how the math all works out in terms of when these meetings are held. I am confident we can hit the advertising requirement in time for this hearing, as long as I get on top of it tomorrow. But I know Trustee Vaughn and I have had discussions, and I think she's having discussions with some movers and shakers to try to get the State House to possibly get into the 21st century when in regards to advertising requirements and statute.
Yeah, I'll expand on that. The Delaware County Township Association Development Committee has reached out to OTA and made them aware of this issue, and they are 100% behind the thought. So I don't know what the resolution is going to be, but they are all in favor of getting rid of this requirement. You want me to read the motion?
Yeah,
Okay.
anyone you want.
All right, I'll move that the Board of Trustee acknowledged the recommendation of the Zoning Commission's approval of ZC 2022-07 Multi-Sound Studios, 6463 Maxtown Road. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette? Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Motion carries. Again, that's March 21st at 6:30 PM.
Thank you. And just going off script, I am happy to hear that police is considering AV for that training room. As you just heard, getting the hall for these type of meetings is becoming very difficult. And right now, it's difficult to take this trustee meeting show on the road because while we made a lot of great improvements here, it sort of tied our hands because all the cameras and all the AV equipment are here if we want to broadcast it on YouTube. So to mimic that capabilities there and preferably have very close to the same system so we're not trying to maintain them. We're in two totally different systems would be great. So I guess that's just my little plug of support there for Deputy Chief Chabali.
Very good.
I have nothing else to bring before you this evening.
Thank you. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
I just want to note that the BZA meeting has been
Yes.
canceled.
Yes.
Okay.
Got it. Announcements. March 7th, there's a Fire Advisory Committee. March 7th, there's an annual Turk meeting. March 8th, Police Advisory Committee. March 13th, Zoning Commission meeting. April 1st is the Township's Egg Hunt at Westerville Central High School. April 4th, Fire Advisory Committee. April 5th, Parks Advisory Committee. And the next regular trustee meeting is April 6th. At this time, I'll move to adjourn to executive session at 7:52 PM to consider the appointment, promotion, and compensation of a public employee or official, and to conference with an attorney for the public body concerning disputes involving the public body that are the subject of pending or imminent court action. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette? Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. We're now adjourned into executive session. Yep. Okay. I'll move to return from executive session to the regular trustee meeting. The time is 8:45 PM. Do I have a second?
Second?
Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. We have a couple items before we adjourn for the evening. One is we have a human resources item. I'll move to approve the following policy updates in the Personnel Policies Manual effective March 2nd, 2023. Sick leave accrual, prior public employment, sick leave transfer, compensatory time, vacation, working vacation, and to remove the following policies: reimbursement agreement, police officer, commitment agreement, firefighter, CDL incentive repayment agreement. Do I have a second?
Second?
Discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman?
Yes.
Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. Also, Joe Schaefer, we need to set a materials deadline.
Yes, when we set this public hearing earlier for the multi-sound studios, I forgot to ask the board to set the deadline when you want the revised or updated submission materials. So I did talk to the applicant today. They're confident they could get us those items next week, Wednesday, so I would
March 8th?
recommend- Yeah,
By 4 PM?
4 PM, that'll work.
Okay, very good. Anything else? All right, I'll move to adjourn this meeting at 8:46 PM. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion, roll call.
Mr. Antoinette?
Yes.
Ms. Goodman? Ms. Vaughn?
Yes, motion carries. We're adjourned at 8:46.